Well, hello everybody, and welcome to today's lesson. But first, Christos Anesti, Christ has risen. So today's lesson is going to be about struggle. Now, that's a big word, so what do you think that means? Well, I could give you an example. An example would be if you wanted ice cream and you had to make a decision over what flavor you wanted. Did you want chocolate or did you want vanilla? And how did you make that decision? And that's struggle, and we're going to talk about that today. The two people that we're going to talk about are Job. Now, he lived a very, very long time ago, and we read about him in the Old Testament. And we're going to talk about Peter. And Peter we read about in the New Testament. Peter was somebody that was a disciple or a follower of Jesus. So let's start with Job. Now, Job was a very rich man. He had a very large family, and he was well loved by his neighbors and his friends and all of his family. And he had a lot of animals, and he had a lot of homes, and he had a lot of money too. And so what happened to Job? He lost everything that he had. A windstorm came and took away his homes, and another windstorm came and took away all of his family, and he was left all alone. And if that wasn't bad enough, Job also then started to get very, very sick. And so Job lost everything.
Lost.
Lost what?
I've lost my marbles.
Now, can you imagine that if you lost everything? You lost all of your favorite toys, or you lost your Bratz dolls, or, if you're 30 years old, you lost your Ninja Turtles. So you'd probably be very sad, but you'd also be probably mad. Why is this happening to me? So, what did Job do? He gathered his friends together, 3 of them in particular, and he asked them, why is this happening to me? So Job's friends tried to talk to him and help explain why this happened. And everything that they came up with really wasn't a good answer because there wasn't anything that Job had done wrong. So you would think then that Job would be very, very mad at God because he did something that wasn't very nice. Job prayed to God, but he had everything taken away. And so his friends tried to convince him that God did a terrible thing, or maybe Job did something bad. But Job just couldn't believe this, and this was his struggle, because his friends are saying, you've done something bad, or maybe God has done this to punish you, but Job wouldn't listen to them. And so what Job did is he learned from his struggle, and he learned that sometimes in life, things just happen. Maybe your toys break, or maybe the Happy Meal that you got didn't have the prize inside. So sometimes in life, these things happen. And rather than Job listening to his friends, he listened to God. And God was the one who spoke to Job and says, these things that have happened to you are not your fault, and you are good in my eyes. And because Job suffered, the end of this story has a happy ending because everything that Job had lost was given back to him by God. His homes, all his animals, and most importantly, his family was given back to him. And so not only did Job get everything back, but the Bible says that he got even more back. So that would be like you get your next Happy Meal, and instead of just one prize, there's 3 prizes inside. So you maybe sometimes, just like Job, get punished for something, and you think to yourself, why did I get punished? I didn't do anything wrong. And sometimes that happens to us, and we don't know what the answer is. But the important thing with Job is that he always praised God. He always prayed to God, and he always knew that during the good times and the times that were not so good, that God would always be with him. So now let's talk about the second person. The second person is Peter. Now, Peter's one of the very, very famous, what we call apostles. And he traveled with Jesus, and he was Jesus's closest friend. And Peter said that I will always be with you, Jesus. Whatever happens to you, you can count on me, and I'll be there. Peter was there during the good times with Jesus, when they were at the wedding of Cana, and they were all having fun at the wedding. And he was there when the miracle of the loaves and fishes, when Jesus multiplied the fishes and the bread to over 5,000, so everybody was fed.
That's a lot of fish.
But also Peter was there with Jesus during the bad times, when Jesus was betrayed by Judas, when Jesus was arrested. Peter was there. Peter was there outside when they were questioning him. And somebody saw him outside. Somebody saw Peter and said, "You're the man that's friends with Jesus, aren't you?" And Peter was very afraid. He was very scared. And this was his struggle now, because Jesus was being questioned by these very mean people, and they were asking him these hard questions. And there's Peter outside, and somebody's asking him if he knows him. And what do you think Peter said? Well, he was very afraid, and he said, "No, I don't know this man." And so they asked him again. They said, "We're pretty sure that we've seen you hanging around with Jesus. Are you sure you're not Peter?" And he says, "I don't know that person." And they asked him one more time, and they said, "I don't know. I'm pretty sure that you're that guy." And 3 times Peter said, "No, I don't know this person, Jesus." And right at that moment, Peter remembered something that Jesus said to Peter a long time ago: "You will deny me 3 times, and then you will hear a rooster crow." And that's what Peter heard. And the minute that Peter heard that, his struggle inside of him began. Because Peter was very afraid, because he might now die, or he might be captured and arrested. But at the same time, he knew that his best friend Jesus was inside and facing that same issue and that same problem. And so what did Peter do? Peter did what most of us would probably do in that situation. He cried and he wept, because he was very sad that he did not have the courage at that moment that he could rush in and he could be there with his friend. That was his struggle. So imagine yourself and your best friend at school, and the two of you do something that you're not supposed to do. And the teacher catches your best friend and brings your best friend in to the principal's office. And your best friend never says that it was the two of you. And so he is the one that gets the punishment. Now you're in the same situation like Peter. Because are you afraid to come forth and tell the principal that it was the two of you that did it? Or do you let your friend take all of the punishment by himself? And we know what the right thing to do is. But when Jesus was resurrected, when Jesus came back from the dead, who did he call back? He called Peter back, and Peter was very afraid and ashamed. But he said, Peter, I, Jesus, forgive you. And you are so important, Peter, and your faith is so strong that you will be the rock that I build my church upon. And so in this struggle, Peter was repentant. There's a big word, repentant. It means he felt bad for what he did. And Jesus knows what that is like. He knows that feeling because he saw it in Peter. And there are many times in our lives when we will struggle just like Peter. And we have to know the words that Jesus told Peter and the words that Jesus tells us today. Know that I will always love you and that I will always be with you. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. And don't forget, we're still collecting food for those children that don't have enough to eat. So get with your parents and don't forget to drop off some food to the church so that we can go ahead and deliver that to those kids in need.